Hello everyone. This video I'm showing you how to make this lace front wig. It's going to be a little longer video because I'm showing you from scratch how I started from the cap, how I measure, and how I sew it on the sewing machine. As I said, this is going to be a longer video, so feel free to fast forward wherever you need to. But the hair that I use on here is Vietnamese straight. It's a 22-inch and a 20-inch. And then I use some of another 20-inch, so like 2.5 bundles, which makes it about 250% density. I sell these wigs on my website, tttwigs.com. And here is how I made the inside. I put a comb at the bottom. It's a glueless 5x5 HD lace closure wig. With it being made with a dome cap, you can make it a middle part or you can shift it to a side part. So that's what makes it a little easier when you use dome cap wigs. So now I'm getting to the video of how I made this. Don't forget to subscribe so you can get the notifications of when I'm posting new videos and tutorials. So this is I think I used a medium cap. You can also use a large cap. And then it comes a little bigger. So I'm measuring my head. I only take 2 measurements. I take the front to the nape, and then I put that on the dome cap. And then the second measurement I take is from ear to ear over the top of the head. So now what I'm doing is I'm just pinching the sides down to make this cap a little smaller. A tip that you need to know is when you're making your caps, you don't want to make it exactly to the size, because I usually make it maybe 1 inch bigger as far as how much room I leave on the cap. So if I measure 23 inches on the size of a person's head, I would make the cap 24 inches. So when I go and use the sewing machine, if it shrinks it a little, then it's not too small. So I'm going to just sew down one side of the cap. I don't want to sew down 2 sides. I guess it just depends on the person's head, but since I want to do about the average size head, and this is already a medium cap, I'm just going to sew down one side. And you could get these caps off of Amazon. They sell them in blonde, black. So I normally order a couple of them in medium or large. Also, when you're making a blonde wig, you want to use like tan thread. Black. I like to use something that matches close to the hair, because if the tracks get to split and open and you have black tracks, black thread, you'll be able to see it. But this is a 5x5 HD lace closure. And now I'm just going to sew the front of it down. I'm going to sew it on first, and then I'm going to use the sewing machine to tack it down. I like to put the lace to come out a little farther, maybe about 1 inch farther than the actual dome cap, because sometimes when I put it right where the dome cap is, it makes it too, it doesn't make it come back far enough. Some people's head are different sizes, so this will be adjustable for different size heads. So now you want to braid both of the sides of the hair down, so when you're sewing on the sewing machine, the hair is not getting in the way. Also, if you're a beginner at doing this, you can take an easier way out. If you're just making wigs for yourself, you can just take a hot glue gun and glue all this down. You don't have to take a sewing machine and sew it down. The glue gun will make it last a pretty long while also. But since I'm selling these wigs, I like to make sure everything is secure and professional looking. So here's how the hair looks. This is the Vietnamese straight hair, 20 inch. I like how the hair doesn't have all those short pieces on the end. That's why I usually like to use this type of hair. And you can see as I'm pulling it, because y'all like to look for straight hair that's shed, it's not much hair that come off. But granted, every bundle, there's no hair out here that doesn't shed at all. So if you think that you're going to get hair out here that doesn't shed, that's like almost impossible. You can put stuff on your tracks to keep them to slow down shedding, but you will not find bundles. As long as I've been doing hair, I haven't found any bundle that doesn't shed at all. But stitching it onto a cap does help the hair from shedding. So I already sewed the bundle. I didn't sew the track down yet. Here I am just showing you how to double the tracks, because this is also will help your hair wigs look fuller. So I'm taking 2 tracks right now and sewing them together. I'm using a zigzag stitch so it will keep the tracks together. And when you sew these tracks together, you don't want them sitting right on top of each other. I have them kind of like one up under the other, so it will still lay flat when you sew it down. Plus, it also makes it harder when you use a sewing machine to go and stitch over that if you have 2 tracks that's already thick and they're doubled. You can sew these tracks to your cap by hand, but it makes it a lot quicker when you do it with the sewing machine. And for me, it lasts better with the sewing machine versus being pulled off the cap when it's done by hand. So when I make my wigs, I do it a little different. I know a lot of people make their wigs and they draw the lines on there, but I've done it several times. And when I try to make the lines, like what people don't tell you is when they make those lines on their cap, and when you go to sew on the sewing machine, there's a tension that has to be done. And if it's not done right, your cap will be buckled and you will have like lumps in the cap as you're sewing it onto the sewing machine. So for me, this is what I have to do. I have to measure each piece and then go back and sew it onto the sewing machine. Like I said, you can use a hot glue gun and then sew it down with the machine. But I just put a few stitches in each row as I go, and then I go back and sew it. So for me, this is what gets my cap to lay flat. So what I'm doing right now, I am sewing down the closure, and then I will let you see how it looks and how I cut the cap off of the closure. So here's how it looks when you sew it down. You can either use a zigzag stitching or you can use a straight stitching. But I'm going to go in and cut the cap off of the area that I just sewn down, as you see now. That way, as I'm sewing the rest of the hair, the wig, as I maneuver it around the sewing machine, it moves easier. So you're just going to go in and cut out the part inside the part that you just sewn down. And I get this question also, that if is the cap blonde hair as the knots already bleached. Blonde hair does not need to be bleached, because when it's the color blonde, it's already bleached. So you don't need to re-bleach the knots on a blonde wig, because that is bleached knots. The goal of bleaching knots is to make the knots, when you're going from black, is to make them lighter. And the closer you get them to blonde, the closer it's going to blend into your skin. So when you're dealing with a blonde wig, you do not have to bleach your knots, because they are already bleached. So here I am all done with the wig. I didn't show each row that I sewed on, but that's basically what I do, is just keep on sewing and then go to the sewing machine, or keep on measuring and then go to the sewing machine and sew it on all the way up to the closure. So now I'm just flat ironing the hair. And what you don't want to do is flat iron the hair, or if you want to get tight curls, it's going to be hard to flat iron the hair and then wand curl it after. So you have to wait till the hair gets completely cold, and then you can go in and wand curl it. So I'm going to show you how it looks on my head. You can see how full it is. As I said, this is the 22 inch, but I cut a few inches off, so I made about a 20 inch. You can see how the hairline looks. I haven't plucked it yet. And here is how it looks from a full body length. This is another reason that I like to make my own, because when you get them from the Chinese vendors, they give you these like 12-inch closures and then 20-inch wigs. I like my closure to meet down as long as where the hair comes. So if you would like to order this wig, Feel free to go to my website, or if you would just like to watch more videos on how I hairstyle and make these wigs or whatever else to do with hair, then follow my channel. I will see you in the next video.